This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, good people, and welcome to the podcast. And we are going to be talking about some very interesting technology today and software. I will let you listen to Malcolm's dulcet tones, who will introduce what we're going to be discussing today.
Thanks, Ian. I guess we're going to really talk about cryptocurrency, the blockchain, the video games, and presumably the entree to mainstream adoption for blockchain.
Ledger Wallet is a smart card-based Bitcoin hardware wallet bringing maximum protection level to your Bitcoins without sacrificing usability or control. Find the link in this episode's show notes.
I'm excited for this show because I do love video games.
Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to it. As soon as I heard, I went and woke up my 17-year-old son, who was asleep in bed at 9:30 in the morning, and violently shook him and said, "Tell me about OPSkins." And what do you? Yeah, and he said, "Yeah, and I think from that he said, "Yes, I've used it, but it was not the easiest experience because he's under 18 and it's difficult for him to use PayPal." I think that was the net summary of his statement.
Right. Yeah. No, we do restrict age usage. We really do our best to bring safety, security, and sort of good practices to the industry. But your son is obviously allowed to use with your supervision. So
of course he is. Yeah. I don't tell him my credit card details, though. That would be just too dangerous.
Yeah, that sounds definitely dangerous.
So, Malcolm, do you want to tell us about yourself and tell us about Wax?
Sure. We really believe that video gaming is one of those killer apps. There are, I think, several other possibilities, but I would say in terms of clear and present opportunity, I think gaming is that solution for taking crypto to the masses. And that was really the basis of where we wanted to go with Wax. So yeah, we can talk about that today, and of course, any other topics related to that.
Yeah, and I think it's really good to focus on those kind of use cases. And I've been engaged with the Blockchain Show for coming up for 9 months or so now, and clearly Ethan said earlier that it's been running for almost 2 years. And there's been a lot of talk and a lot of theory and a lot of ideas, and I'm really hopeful, based on some of the things I've seen and some of the conversations I've had, that 2018 is when not only do the ideas go mainstream, because I think that's kind of already happened. Blockchain is out there in the public perception. I was out I'm working in the travel industry at the moment, and I've been to a travel technology show today and yesterday, and there is a what does a blockchain mean for travel seminar running today, which is great. So it's out there, but what I'm really keen to see is those use cases, those are real applications in the real world for the real people and the real masses, and absolutely why not approach those who are already digitally savvy.
It's also solving a problem. The thing about gamers is they are very motivated. So, OPSkins has really been a pioneer in the marketplace for skins. So skins are those cosmetic items that you acquire inside video games. They might dress your avatar, they might adorn your weapon or any of your other tools you use in the game. They have no purpose other than to look a certain way or change the look. Game companies like them because they don't affect sort of game economics in a substantive way. They don't affect gameplay. They're really just for you to brag about and to be excited about. It's the people that say, well, because we had a skin just recently that went for $61,000, and people were just like, their minds were exploding. They couldn't understand it, and I said, okay, well, go to some really expensive part of your town and see if you can find somebody walking down the street with a $60,000 diamond ring, and ask yourself, what's the utility of that diamond ring? And everyone's sort of like, well, I guess because it's like status. You you feel good and people look at you, or maybe, and I said, well, that's...
Scratch your name on a piece of glass if you want it.
Yeah.
Apart from that, what's the use? What's it good for?
Yeah. I mean, unless you're a vandal with a $60,000 diamond ring, the thing you're getting are essentially brain chemicals, serotonin, oxytocin. You're feeling connected. You feel, a sense of status. People's admiration, makes you feel better. And so that's essentially the same thing. It's all about essentially your status in an environment, a gaming environment where you spend a lot of time. And so that's why skins are, carry that value for people. And so OPSkins is the largest marketplace. Think of it like eBay for trading those kinds of items. And, we turn over several $1 billion a year. We have about 2 million transactions every week. We grow about 200,000 new users a month. And so, OPSkins has really been the dominant marketplace for that. But it is centralized. And, as crypto guys on the team, we were sitting around and thinking, wow, the big existential threat to a centralized exchange trading virtual items cross-border, where, of course, cross-border fees and currency conversion fees are very high. And, obviously going back and forth between currencies is laborious, besides being expensive. The greatest innovation that you would imagine for that would be a decentralized marketplace. And so looking at the sort of technology adoption curve, it was really clear that blockchain within a year or two was going to have the sufficient, let's say, infrastructure. In other words, costs were going to be low enough. There was going to be technology that allowed you to perform enough transactions per second that it would be able to handle our transaction volume. And we do more transaction volume than the top blockchains all combined. So, it was important to sort of time it, right? If you had started it too early, you don't intersect with technology that's going to work. And if you wait, too long, then, somebody else is out there doing it. So, for us, it was about the right timing and realizing that peer-to-peer trading, right? That's essentially what we're enabling, peer-to-peer trading through essentially a piece of software that's your trusted third party. It's not a centralized entity. It was really the innovation we were heading for. And that was the birth of the idea of Wax. And with that, we put together a white paper describing the technology, how all the pieces would work. And we launched we did a token sale in Q4. And now we're out building, bigger and better product innovations to make that a reality. So that's kind of like just sort of in a nutshell, kind of what
product history. Yeah. And again, it's really, we've heard quite a lot, and we heard certainly throughout the latter Q2, Q3, and Q4 of last year, ICOs became flavor of the month, and coin offerings and token generation events, and yeah, I can see why yours is a tokenized platform, and you need that. Did you need the any funding that happened to generate, or was you got such a solid business plan that was the secondary important thing?
The reason for a token sale is really to get the token in the hands of as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. We have a very successful business. It's profitable. We are a unicorn, by definition. And we were definitely the first unicorn, and as far as I know, the first really profitable company as well that did a token sale. And for me, the value of a token sale is now tens of thousands of people, many of which are gamers, are holding the token. They're motivated to support the platform, to use the platform. And, if you say, well, what's the value of the blockchain? I think the number one value, because I'm a technologist and I can say 99% of what I see you can build with a centralized server. You don't need blockchain to build from a technology standpoint. But I'll tell you, the one thing that it does is that it puts the motivation to support it and push it forward in the hands of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So Bitcoin evolved through the volunteer efforts of hundreds of thousands of people. And that there's no CEO of Bitcoin who was hiring and firing. It was completely self-disorganized, as it were. And that crowd sale of the coin, through the process of mining, essentially enabled it to grow and evolve. And I think that is actually the biggest innovation of tokenization more than anything. You have more vested interests. By the time a company traditionally goes public and people buy shares on an open market, then they really care about it. But by then the company's already, really successful, right? It's not going to go public unless it's already achieved very, very high levels. But when you're early stages on an idea, to have tens of thousands of people, actively pushing and rooting for your success and volunteering their time and energy, that's very, very powerful. And I think that's what makes these decentralized applications so incredible. That you could have a user base. Take Filecoin, for example. Imagine, 100,000 people, using that application or storage, using that application, and then, them saying, okay, now we're going to, raise money, or now we're going to take the company public. It looks really, really different because you have all these people with a vested interest. Not that they would, but I'm just saying as an example.
I was just curious if you guys have any plans outside of skins, or if you already have that functionality.
Yes. So crypto collectibles is the big wave of excitement we're seeing. You're probably aware of CryptoKitties, the collectibles that crippled Ethereum in December. And we actually were the first marketplace to trade those outside of CryptoKitties' own site. So you can literally go on our site, and with PayPal, you can end up buying, any item on the site or a credit card or whatever to fund your account. And so it's pretty exciting to see that a broad market can get access to this new category of collectibles. And so I think last week we announced EtherBots. There's another one today, I think Fishbank, which announcement was released. So there's many of these new ERC 721, that's the technical name of the crypto collectibles that are coming onto our platform. And it's interesting because those are truly 100% blockchain-based, non-fungible, that is one-of-a-kind items. And so it's been a really interesting evolution in a very short period of time. We're 8 weeks in and we've seen a whole market. There's now dozens of these. We started with CryptoKitties and EtherBots and Fishbank, but I see a long list of really interesting ones. The funniest one I saw so far is Kim Jong Crypto, which is, if you like pop art and Kim Jong-un humor, it's pretty much ground zero.
Cool. So Malcolm, you talked a little bit about the product, and clearly there's white papers for people to go and look under the hood and look at the technology and what kind of blockchains and stuff you're intending to use. But I'd like to kind of explore the kind of long-term relationship between OPSkins and Wax. Do you see those as like an unbreakable partnership? Do you see Wax as a platform that can be multi-sided, can have multiple skin exchanges as well as OPSkins and multiple consumers, or is that a nice closed shop for you?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question. Wax was designed to not only to subsume OPSkins, in other words, all of OPSkins will actually end up running on Wax, but then also to enable competitors so that any other site could operate like OPSkins by using Wax. So the idea is essentially to expand the market by giving that marketplace functionality to hundreds or thousands of other sites and social channels. And so you might ask, well, it's a pretty serious undertaking to build a competitive platform and give it away. Essentially it's open source, right? So we're giving it away. The value we see is that the marketplace will expand, and that even if our market share goes down relative to others, if the market is expanding, our business ultimately grows. And so this is the fundamental idea of sharing the wealth, right? By sharing the wealth, it expands the market, and by everyone benefiting, we benefit. And that's kind of the idea, that basically thousands of entrepreneurs, people who make content for gaming, will be able to put essentially a marketplace widget right where they're streaming or right where they're blogging, and then their visitors can go and buy and sell skins and other digital assets. That is a business model that is far superior to advertising. And ultimately, that means that entrepreneurs who are in the gaming ecosystem or have other followers and so forth will be able to monetize their efforts and make a living. And so that sort of sharing of the wealth and spreading of economic opportunity is really what underlies the premise.
What's your personal view on kind of the culture and the community around blockchain right now? I think certainly the three of us, Ethan and Ian and myself, and our blockchain podcast colleagues, have seen some different phases, and it kind of evolved and emerged from some guys with some white papers and some theories and some computer scientists specializing it, and maybe some currency experts as well. But it's now grown beyond that and growing beyond that. But what's your take on that community and that culture around blockchain right now?
Well, the culture has definitely been diluted from the original sort of hacker mindset. When I started going to Bitcoin conferences in 2012, it was definitely all of us geeks getting together. And I count myself as one of them as a longtime computer scientist. And it was fun. The conversations we were having were very fanciful. They were about technologies. It was about possibility. The idea of the economic use case was interesting, but not front and center. Today, what we're seeing is a large number of more commercially minded participants. They are thinking a lot more about use cases. There's also a lot of token sales going on, as you know, and so there is an attraction for people to raise money for projects that aren't necessarily great projects, but they're like using a lot of buzzwords and wrapping ideas around them. So there is this sort of separation of good projects from bad projects that I think most people are having to make on their own or through following influencers and listening to what they have to say in their evaluations. But that ecosystem is vastly different than what we had a year ago or 2 years ago. There was none of that, and it's because there was no real funding mechanism. I mean, 2 years ago, the biggest ICO was $500,000 or so. It was or $1 million. Of course, in today's money, that's in today's prices, that's actually quite a bit, But still, back then, the amount raised was just not that significant, and these were essentially for passion projects. So, this is it parallels a lot of what happened in internet in the late 90s. You had these technologists who were interested in TCP/IP, HTTP, HTTPS, and all of these, packet switching technologies, and it was evolving from hardware to software, and there was really no commercially minded activity until really the mid-90s. And then it just went hog wild by 96, 97, 98. And it was investment bankers and tons of entrepreneurs. And I feel that's sort of the same gold rush mentality we're seeing today. There aren't a lot of applications that are truly, I think, applicable to the mainstream. And honestly, unless a concept is, I don't think it's going to have real success in the long term. So there's this disillusionment that is upon us or coming, where the sort of expectation of what these projects can produce will fall short of the reality. And there'll be a period of time where, people sort of put it to the side until I think really breakout hits emerge. And then I think the enthusiasm will just pick up from where it left off. But I think we're coming up to a point where people will see this distinction between kind of the hope and the reality, and that'll last for a while until these projects really manifest.
You talked a little earlier around the kind of the distributed nature of blockchain as being really important feature for Wax, and evolving from OPSkins into that more distributed version of OPSkins. Are there any other unique traits of blockchain that made you guys go, no, we must have this on blockchain, and not just carry on doing it the way we've always done it?
Well, I think that once you sort of adopt the idea that blockchain is the next phase, you recognize that value creation is something you want to distribute in your blockchain project. And so for us, the use of the smart contract makes so many things reliable that you don't need a third party and intermediary to look after. It becomes autonomous. And so escrow is a really, really important piece. Escrow for virtual items is the pivotal aspect that makes it work, because it has to be held by a trusted party while the money is changing hands or the value is being exchanged. So that is, I mean, if there was ever an application that was perfect for smart contracts, that would be it. So that is an intrinsic part of the blockchain. The second part is payments are incredibly painful between, let's say, Chinese renminbi and Chilean pesos or kroners. It's just like it's so painful that the amount of cost involved, currency conversion, as well as cross-border fees. So that is also 100% blockchain ready for a solution, because you will save so much of the value that gets lost by banks and so forth who are on the back end front running these fees for currency conversion. You remember the LIBOR scandal, where the banks were essentially selling low and buying high, or buying low and selling high for consumers with interest rates. That's essentially what's happening with currency conversion, but it's invisible to most consumers. They don't even recognize they're paying it because there's no necessity for it to be shown anywhere. It's all happening, on a server somewhere. But ultimately, if you're a gamer and you see your $10 now only buys you $5 or $6 worth of stuff, you're like, where'd my money go? And that is a natural application to the blockchain. So just to summarize, I think it's escrow, it's the idea of cross-border payments and currency conversion. Those are the two biggest ones. Then you have a lot of other things that are also valuable, not as important as those two things, but you have multi-party payout. You don't need to trust anyone else to sort of hold your stuff, in the short term or long term. And then of course, being able to see everything that happens is really important. People want to know, the transaction history. And they want to know that it's immutable. In other words, that nobody can go in and change the results. And so people have a lot of faith in blockchain as that immutability. Okay,
cool. Now I'm making the assumption, and because I've not spent hours reading through the Wax website yet, although I will be forwarding it to my son, and I'll keep coming back to my son probably over the next couple of questions. I've got a couple more in mind, but one of his comments, I think, when I spoke to him earlier was, whatever he wants to do, he wants to make it easy to spend. He wants to make it mobile able and really easy to interact with on a mobile device. Because often he'll have his PC up running gaming, and then he'll have his mobile device sitting there next to it watching a YouTube video of somebody else gaming, probably.
Absolutely.
So all of those elements around the Wax ecosystem in place or soon to be in place, so that it is accessible to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, mobile has been an ongoing discussion as to how important it is. We have a small percentage of people who use OPSkins on mobile. You could argue that that tells you, hey, it's all about desktop. You could also argue that if mobile were more well developed, that they would participate more on mobile. It's hard to know what the answer is, but I will say that in the development we were doing last year to move towards mobile solutions, it turns out it was exactly the right kind of development we needed to enable blockchain solutions, i.e., APIs, microservices, and things of that nature. So, we will see mobile coming this year in a pretty significant way. And so I think your son will be happy with that on several levels.
Good. Well, I was going to say, so shout out to my son Jake, by the way, just in case he listens to his embarrassing dad on his podcast. So Jake will be 18 later this year. He's in his final year of his kind of high school, senior school year. He's planning for college, and I've put some ether towards his college fund as a bit of a novelty.
Oh, great!
It was good when it was $50 a coin, and I bought early, and it's even better now. But as an 18-year-old guy coming up in August, what can you offer him? What present ideas can you give me so that I can get him a fashionable new present rather than a car or I don't know, a new TV? What can we expect that I can give him as a wax gift?
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of collectibles that are interesting, and I think the skins as well are interesting. So I would look to one of those things, because those are the kinds of things you can kind of put away and come back in a period of time, and then maybe something interesting's happened.
Cool,
so just make sure you hide your private keys and your passwords.
Yeah, don't leave them on the inside of your school locker. No.
Exactly, because they will get hacked.
But that does raise something else interesting, which I've been reading about, which sort of teeters on the edge of our blockchain discussions and Bitcoin. And it's something you said earlier, Malcolm, about Bitcoin not having a CEO. It's just something that was created. And even at the start of this year, people thought that Bitcoin was just for drug dealers and people who are doing illegal operations. And then suddenly it hit the mainstream and everybody wanted in and to find out about it. But a lot of people these days, and I'm sure your son included, Mark, they are more inclined to work for a company that is more community-based, which blockchain is allowing people to do. Is that something you've been seeing, Malcolm, sort of shift in the working environment and what people are used to?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that it is dynamic right now. People's tastes are changing. There is a chasm between millennials and the generation before them in terms of values. I think the gig economy has really shifted for people. They're more interested in things that are flexible, and they want opportunities to be part of a community more than ever. So yeah, I mean, I think tokenized economies reinforce that idea and are very attractive to younger people entering the workforce today. And what we've observed is that they are more interested in something they're passionate about than just a paycheck. And so if community is the thing that they're passionate about, well, then that's what you're going to see a lot more of in terms of companies having to embrace in order to adopt and to attract the right talent. And we certainly see it in the gamer ecosystem. Community is what drives the whole thing. It's that passion and engagement. It's that common shared values we see across different ecosystems within gaming. So I mean that I'd say that's consistent with our observation.
It leads me onto a question that's sort of close to my heart, I guess. I like getting out and about and talking to people face to face, certainly about blockchain, about technology in general. I'm a 20+ year geek like yourself. Happen to be in the travel industry at the moment, which is really interesting because it's getting me to go to different places and talk to different people about things like blockchain, which are not only a workday passion but an out of work passion. Next week I'm going to Toronto and Seattle, two centers of I guess blockchain activity, as well as California is, as well as London is, and other places in Europe and around the world. But are you guys out and about in the near future? Where do you go to engage with people face to face? It's not all virtual and via Skype, I'm sure, but where are Wax out and about next?
Yeah, well, we were just at D10E in Silicon Valley, and we have a whole list of events that we attend. We are at the Tech Fair in LA, GDC coming up in San Francisco. We're at a whole list of events. We're at the Wall Street and Internet of Money in March. So if you look on our site, wax.io, you can see a list of events that we will be at and focus on. So you can come say hello to us.
You certainly need to come over to Europe and see us guys over here as well. Yeah.
We were at the World Blockchain event in November. I think it was November or end of October. No, it was October, right? It was the very beginning. So that was a great event. And I was at some events in Kiev last year, which were great. We've attended some great events in Europe. So we'll definitely be making it over there.
Awesome. We'll try and catch up with you one day. Come and see one of those.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, anything else, Ian and Ethan, that you want to get out that's on your mind?
I want to know how to find out more information, please, Malcolm.
Sure. Well, I mean, wax.io, as I said before, is a good place. You can see our white paper there. You get links to Telegram and Reddit and Medium, or a blog where you can read all about what we're up to and interact with the community. I think that's a really great place to start if you want to get connected to what we're up to. We have regular releases on what we're up to on Twitter. So if you go to our site, you can connect all our social channels, and that's how you kind of get connected, either in conversation or broadcast only mode, whichever you're into. There's also a newsletter. So that's it. The newsletter is actually the best because we send these summaries, these weekly roundups, so you kind of get to see everything in one place.
Fabulous.
Brilliant. Yeah. No, really looking forward to going and shopping for Jake come August time.
Get him some skins for his birthday.
Will do. And once he's 18, he's like a responsible citizen and everything, and he can come buy more himself.
Yes, when he's 18, he can vote with his PayPal.
Exactly. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that. That was very, very interesting. And I'm sure we'll get in touch with you later on in the year and see how things are going and see what's actually happening. This is a very dynamic workplace for the blockchain. And I always think it's quite staggering that we've got to that point in society where video games are being advertised on television these days. When we think about our younger days when we used to play video games and everybody thought that was quite a niche market. Now it's really a really invested market, and of course blockchain and Bitcoin are going to catch up with it.
Yeah, it's bigger than Hollywood in terms of annual revenues, which is saying a lot being in LA. Most people in the movie industry don't want to admit it. So.
I know I sound like a total old timer here, but I actually quite enjoyed. My son took me to a CS:GO event last year, and I actually quite enjoyed it. It was entertaining. It was entertaining, and it's hard to believe that 4 guys sitting in a row playing computer games can be an entertaining thing with a range of different skin devices and tools and weapons. But yeah, there is something about it. So good luck to you.
Thanks.
Before I sign off, I'd just like to let our listeners know, certainly those in the Seattle area, that next week I will be making an appearance at the East Side Evening Beer and Blockchain. It was the beer bit that attracted me. In Seattle next Wednesday evening, Wednesday the 3rd of January, at the Bellevue Brewing Company. So I will be there. I will be wearing my Blockchain Show T-shirt. So do come and say hello.
So when you said the 3rd of January, you meant the 3rd of March?
I did mean 3rd of March. It's actually advertised on this piece of paper as the 3rd of January. That's a lie. It's not even that. It's the 28th of February. So I don't know where the 3rd of January came from. That was previous one perhaps. But yes, 28th of February, Wednesday. The Wednesday bit was right. In Bellevue in Seattle.
Well, it sounds like they could organise a drinking session in a brewery then, if they've got the date right.
Yes, fantastic.
Right. So, what date is it? It's the 28th.
It's the 20th. I'll start that again. Yeah, Wednesday, the 28th of February, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. Bellevue Brewing Company, Bellevue, Seattle, Washington State.
Right, you better grow a beard and get some cool glasses before you go there.
I've got to go and try and speak to Dragon Chain and thank them very much for my healthy Dragon Chain valuation.
Fabulous.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Malcolm, once again. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and yeah, hope to catch up soon.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thanks, Malcolm.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you looking for an easy way to buy Bitcoin or Ether on a safe, secure platform? Coinbase is the easiest place to buy and sell digital currencies. Sign up today as a friend of the Blockchain Show, and if you buy or sell $100 of Bitcoin or more, you'll earn $10 of free Bitcoin for yourself and $10 of Bitcoin to support this show. Join now using the link in this episode's show notes at theblockchainshow.com. To learn more, visit theblockchainshow.com.